Hi guys, and welcome to Bomb Anime.
It's your girl Ruka.
And Big Boy Summer here, bringing you The Eminence in Shadow, hot or not.
Creativity. So they opened it with the perspective of a so-called unimportant NPC. Really creative when it comes to it, because at first you think you're in the mind of the MC, which is what you're used to seeing, but it's not. It's just through her perspective for now. And it just makes me feel like Aizawa is playing with our perception of reality from the very beginning of the episode. I also believe that the character Nishino was deemed an unimportant character by Kagenou because he wasn't sure if he would succeed in saving her or not.
Akane Nishino is the point of view that we get this whole episode, well, for most parts of this episode, and we see that she is actually quite a deep character. So she's been through some things, she's quite popular, she's actually wearing a mask, and we get a very detailed look into her mentality, her state, her motivations, and her feelings behind the mask. And we actually understand that she actually has strong emotional feelings towards Kagenou. Now, it's not love or lust like normal that we get when it's between a male and a female character. It's sort of like when someone is used to getting all the attention and one person doesn't give him the attention and she wants that attention. And it's not necessarily because she per se wants the attention, it's because she has worked so hard to create the mask in which everyone likes her that it's a shortcoming in her sense. And it's nice to see an unimportant character, an NPC, actually be fleshed out this way and see the point of view of the story from their eyes. Us being given this viewpoint as opposed to being given the standard isekai viewpoint from episode 1 is actually quite interesting. I mean, they literally gave us 90% of an episode, which was like a pre-isekai, which was pretty cool, I think.
Entertainment. So this is an isekai with a difference. For me, when I watch isekais, a lot of the times I see it as a second chance at life. You know, you're being reincarnated, you get to come into another world, and a lot of the times these characters had a really negative first life. But with this one, it's almost as if this new life is just an extension of his first one. It's not just an extension though, because his first life gave him the foundation of everything he needed. He said that he trained really hard, he was already beating people up, beating up biker gangs and stuff like that in his first life, and he was constantly thinking how he could improve because he knows that as strong as he can become, there's something else that could become stronger than him or be stronger than him and eradicate him. For this one, it just takes a completely different take to the normal isekai genre, and he's using all of his training that he already did, developing on it and bringing it here to actually fulfill his dreams that he could not fulfill in his first life.
Look at some of the questions I had throughout this whole episode. What is the scandal? I.e., what had Nishino feeling PTSD? What had Nishino scared after every turn? And what got her kidnapped in the first place? Does Kagenou have something to do with the scandal? Why is Nishino being targeted? Why are they going through so much lengths to capture her in the first place? Why did they just kidnap and pass it off as ransoming, knowing full well that there was more to the story? And like throughout the whole show, you are met with loads of different questions. And when one question's giving you a little tidbit, you end up with more questions, and this goes out throughout the end. And some of these questions aren't answered. It kind of set the pacing for the anime.
Character development. So Nishino is obviously dealing with a form of PTSD. You know that she is from the beginning when she opens her door and she has a flashback of loads of cameras flashing in her face, but everyone's eyes look really evil. And then you quickly find out that she doesn't have a problem with attention. She actually likes it. So that flashback you knew had a lot of significance. And on top of that, she had this model persona that she had to keep up with. She claimed that she hated Kagenou because he's quite brash, he shows his negative feelings, and he pays her no attention. But for me, what I saw was that he represented what freedom would feel like to her. and that's why she resented him, because he could live authentically and she couldn't. She said she plays the teacher's pet for the teachers so they'll like her. She plays the popular person for the students so that they'll like her. She's basically everything that everybody else would like, but not once does she actually say that she's doing anything for herself or what she likes or what she loves or what she enjoys. So her character was just interesting to follow. And then you've got Kagenou, who really does come across as a sociopath, but I don't know if he's acting like this because he knows that this is a game or not real. I'm guessing that it's a game because he called them NPCs and he knows that the world's not real. We did not really get to find out what he was like beforehand. Yes, we did get some of his feelings about how he wanted to be this hero, and I also liked that motif as well because he keeps talking about how he wanted to be a hero but he didn't grow out of it. And I find that interesting because as children, a lot of the time, you know, kids have typical dreams of what they want to be. A lot of people will say they want to be a nurse, a doctor, they want to be a policeman, but for some people those childhood dreams are their adult realities and they're things that we need in our adult lives as well. So I like how they've turned this childhood dream into this nightmare for others, because he really is no one's hero. He doesn't want to be a hero, actually. He wants to be someone's final boss. So he's not even trying to color in the correct lines. So I feel like he's a character that might do certain things that a hero would not do. I mean, we saw him bash someone's face in. I really don't think Kagenou will be someone that would want to leave survivors.
I really appreciate the way that Aizawa decided that he was going to use inner monologues. Now, we say this a lot privately about how when you read the manga and you watch the anime, there's a lot missing because you don't know what the internal feelings are of the characters. This is not the case here. Constantly, we know exactly what they're thinking at the time that they're thinking it because it's stated. We knew exactly where Kagenou's motivations came from because his whole history and thinking and feeling of wanting to be a hero in the shadows is there. We knew exactly what Nishino was feeling because she told us. And so knowing what their motivations and feelings at the time of any incident was is a nice vehicle in order to show what the characters truly are. And I think that this was used really well. Now, certain things that could have been done a little bit better was maybe looking more into the motivation side, because we knew what they were feeling but not really the motivations behind it, because we were given loads of information this episode and loads of useless information because I don't see it being relevant for the rest of the anime, which is going to be set in a different world where Nishino probably would not be and Kagenou is going to be a completely different character. However, it was a nice, I guess, exercise in utilizing very simple direct skills in order to convey the characters here.
World building. So they showed us a world at the end where there's now magic and Kagenou intends to find more of it. Well, not necessarily more magic, but more power. I'd like to know how the world changes so much from the one that we first see that looks like a standard world, because I am in the belief that although the first part of the anime, the main part of it, is a normal world that we're used to seeing, I highly still believe that that is part of the isekai, just because of the way he was referring to Nishino as an NPC and the fact that he seemed to know what was going to happen in the future. So I would really like to know how everything changes. Also, as a side note, in this world, I just have to say, Nishino was kidnapped and it seemed like she was essayed as well at that time. And her parents, who are rich, now send her to school with a chauffeur, but not with a trained bodyguard, to the point where their chauffeur was taken out by one punch. Like, come on, do better.
Me and Ruka disagree here, because Ruka is looking at it as if the normal world that we saw is the isekai, and I'm looking at it as the normal world that we saw is the normal world. Now, there's arguments for both, and there's definitely a lot of evidence for both. So in terms of world building, for me, it was set in just a normal, typical high school with someone who is famous at the school, or someone who has power at the school. I mean, Nishino's part of the Nishino Zaibatsu, so her father has a lot of sway in the community. They even covered up the fact that she was kidnapped, even though there was loads of police and it did look like a few reporters and so on and so forth. So I am under the belief that this world was just set in the everyday typical Japan school with someone who was famous, and that's the kind of world building I got. It wasn't until the end where we saw what I would say is the isekai world, where kagenou actually has some power and has an army of, well, a harem/army of beast creatures, then we can see the contrast between the two.
Plot execution. So Kagenou wants to gain more power and he wants to become the final boss. Whose final boss he wants to become? Who knows?
So for me, in terms of plot execution, look, we see a lot of vague tidbits. We see a lot of dead ends and roads that lead to different kind of plots that may be, but we might not be privy to. It's a real testament to how the writer can create drama out of thin air, or drama that looks like it needs a conclusion. So the episode had a plot where Nishino got kidnapped and was under some PTSD and was dealing with some things, and Kagenou seemed to be just there, however very noticed by Nishino. And then we turn to the end of the episode where we see that Kagenou actually has the army which we were kind of promised in the trailer and promised in the beginning of the whole show and the premise of the show. So it seems like we can see a conclusion there.
To the verdict, creativity, hot or not?
So for me, it's a hot. I like the idea of a pre-isekai whole episode, giving it the amount of time needed in order to lay the groundwork.
Hot. Entertainment, hot or not?
So for entertainment, it's a definite hot for me.
Hot. Character development, hot or not?
Totally great character development. It's a hot.
Hot. World building, hot or not?
For me, unfortunately, this is a not. I don't think that the world building in the real world and the little bit of the isekai world, in my opinion, is good enough.
It's a hot. They completely mind you from the very beginning to the point where me and Big Boy Sama can't even agree on whether each one was the real world or not. And it speaks to the very beginning of the anime where we thought that the main protagonist was going to be the female, and it turned out that she wasn't. It's all a part of it. It's intentional. For our experience, it's a hot. Plot execution, hot or not?
They gave me a plot for the episode. They gave me a plot for the end of the anime. It's a definite 100% hot for me.
Hot. And there you have it. I have gone for 5 out of 5 hots because I'm correct. And Big Boy Sama has gone for 4 out of 5 hots because he's incorrect. So...
Wow, Ruka. Alright. No worries. It's fine. Good luck to you, Nick.
We will be back for our part 2 just to prove how wrong Big Boy Sama was.
I hope you're happy with yourself.
I'm just messing with you. Join us again for our next part. Let us know what you think down in the comments.
And don't be afraid to DM us on Bomb Anime Insta, all one word.
Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.
And if you made it this far, we really do appreciate you.
Peace.